Okay, let's go and see what we are trying to do now. Okay, so this is the page, will load in some time. So I'm in the home.js. Whenever the page will load, I will call this function, and this function will call the action. It will dispatch the action, and if I go to the action, in the action I'm passing type as a browse, and I'm passing the payload with a promise, and inside promise I'm calling the Firebase URL, and I'm using on value. On value means whenever there is a new update, I should get that value immediately. I should not call the refresh of the page. On value means the value whenever someone add a new record or someone post a new value, it will come to this page automatically without me refreshing the page. That's the meaning of this on value. And this snapshot.val wall will have all the records which are present in the database. So we will get all the list of the records. Now let's see what happens. So if you see snapshot, I am getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I will go to another page and I'll create one more record. And let's open this in a, so let's make this smaller. And here I will make this smaller. So now I am cleaning this to show you what's happening. So let me create new one. One location, I will put something Ontario, Canada, or I will put some US location, Oakland. Text right now, I'll put anything. I'll not put image now. I'll say create post. When I click the create post, you will see snapshot is added. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 records are there now. And here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 records are there, though it appears twice, but that doesn't mean anything. 8 records are there. Let's create one more and see 9 are there or not. Let's add 2. Let's see now how many records are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 records are there. So whenever I'm adding, 9 records are coming here, but you will notice that this action is not called again and again. Action is called only once. This dispatch of action should be called whenever the new records come. But here, if I reload the page, if I'm reloading the page, I can see the browse is called and browse fulfilled is called on the reload of the page. But when I'm trying to add the record, I'm not getting this browse. And if I'm not getting the browse one or browse fulfilled every time when I create a new record, I won't be able to show it on the page. Okay. So before we jump on to fix this problem, there's a problem here. Before we jump to fix this problem, first let's update this data with action.payload. The payload which is coming here, this is the payload which is coming here. This is nothing but the records which I'm getting from the server, and I'm updating it in the reducer with the variable with the data. So data will have all the values. Let's refresh the page and see if I'm getting all the values. So I refresh the page. You will see in the next state, put donation, data has all the records in it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So whenever I'm refreshing the page, I'm getting the data with all the values. But the problem here comes when I create a new post. When I create a new post, I'm not able to get the new data. See, I can see snapshot because snapshot is mentioned here, but I'm not getting the this next state, action, previous state, because we are not firing any action. Whenever the new data is coming, we are coming here, but we are not firing any action. And if action is not fired, we won't be able to go to reducer and data will not be updated with the new value. So who will tell me how to fix this problem? I want to fire the action whenever something comes here. But here I'm firing the action only when the page loads, and whenever there is a reference of this one, I'm not firing any action. And I cannot fire action inside this place. I should be keeping this out of the action to call the action. So can anyone tell me how to fix this problem? Are you getting me? What is the problem? First tell me, have you understood what is the problem I'm getting?
The action's not being fired. I don't know where you would put it.
Right. So action is not fired. Whenever new data is coming, action is not fired. And if we don't fire action, we won't be able to call the reducer and we won't be able to update the data. So to fire the action, every time when I get a new value, I will keep this out of the action. This part I will not put it in the action. I will take this part and I will put in the home.json in the function. In the function, I will put this Firebase part, and whenever the some data is come, when data comes here from the Firebase, at that time I will fire the action. So here I will fire the action, and in this browse food donation, I will pass this whole value. Let me delete this part. I will not resolve it because this is not a promise. So no need of the resolve. No need for this console.log. Let's delete these two things. So now, whenever the value comes from the Firebase, I will dispatch the action. And what parameter I will pass? I will pass all the values which I am getting from the Firebase. So in the food donation action, that is here, I will pass the params. Here will be the params, and this params will go in the payload. This params will go in the payload. So we don't need promise here. Promise is only needed if I want to put Firebase here. But right now I don't want to put Firebase here. So I don't need promise. I will just put payload with the params which I am getting here. And what are the params? Params is nothing but all the values which are coming from the Firebase. So in this way, whenever we page will load, okay, so whenever the page will load, I will call this function 1 and the function will call this Firebase URL, and with on.value, that means every time when there is a new record, it will call this method, and inside this method I am calling the action. So every time whenever there is an update, we will call this action, and action will pass these two parameters to the food donation reducer. And since we don't have promise here in the action, that means fulfill will not be there. It will be only browse. And when there is a browse, that means I can update the data with the action.payload. Action.payload is nothing but this params. Params is nothing but the data which is coming from the Firebase. So once again, let's write down what's happening here so you can understand better. So we are in the home.js. Whenever the page loads, I call the function 1. And function 1 calls the Firebase. And because there is on value, let me mute everyone. Okay. Because there is on value in the Firebase, that means whenever we have new value in database, we will get this function called. So on value, I will call the action. Here in the all value, I will call the action, and action will call the reducer with type and payload. Payload will be nothing but whatever value we are getting with this result. And then once we go to reducer, data will be updated with new values. Now we will test it again. Okay, so there is an error. Since we moved into the home.js, we need to copy these two lines of the code, these lines of the code here in the home.js. Okay, let's test out again now. So I will refresh the page. Okay, once I refresh the page, I will get the action of browse, and my food donation reducer is getting all the data. Now let's see what happens when I create the record. When I create the record, you will see again the action is called this. Don't worry about this error. I will tell you what it is there. We will fix this part. So you will see I'm getting browse action, and my new state is getting another data again. That means whenever a new record is created, I get this action. That means reducer is called, and that means my data is updated with the new value. Okay, this error we will fix later. This is when state is missing, it gives the error. So we will not choose the city right now, which does not have the state. And later on, we will fix that one also. So that means whenever I am now creating the new record, you will see the data in the data object. Is this clear what I explained you now? What is the problem with here and why we moved here? Is this part clear?
Yes.
Okay, before we go further, we are getting lot of warnings. If I refresh the page, let's fix all the warnings. So first warning we are getting in the index.js, Firebase is defined, never used. These three are called but never used. So let's delete these three in the index.js. So I will go to index.js and I will delete Firebase. That is, this part is not used. And database and constant. Database and constant is not used here. So let's delete it. Again, in the nav.js, we don't use any of this one. So let's delete it. So let's delete this one. Next will be the home.js. We don't use Firebase app. So I will delete this part. So you have to see the error and delete it in accordingly. Maybe my errors are different. Your errors will be different. Food donation action, we don't use any of them. So let's remove all this one. Now if I see, I should not get any error. Still I'm getting in the create.js. Which one is not, Firebase app is not used. Okay, so you do this in some time after I show you this one. So now what changes you have to do in the action? You have to just put like this 4 lines of the code I am giving in the chat. So this is the action. The code is action, food donation action. So just update this food donation action, then I will give you another line of the code. Okay, next will be the reducer. Everything was done yesterday, only I need to add this line of the code today, and we have to change it to browse. So this is one line of the code which you have to do and make the case of browse. These two changes on the reducer file. Kate, are you doing or no? Okay, next go to home.js. First add this line of the code in the top. And then in the function one, change it to this line of the code. Okay. Now I will ask you a few questions. When the page loads, that is the home.js, which function is called first? This component did mount and render. Before render is called, we call the component did mount function. And this component did mount function calls the function one. So whenever we have to do something when on page load, we always put that function or that line of the code in the component did mount. And then we call this function one or any function you can call. So function one is called, what function one does? It calls the Firebase, and once the results come back from the Firebase, it dispatches the function or dispatches the action. This is the action. This action takes the some parameters, that is this one. This is the all list of the result which it takes. And once this action is called, we are here and we pass the type and payload as whatever we get from the Firebase. And where it goes after action, where it goes? After action, where it goes? To store or to reducer or to views. Whenever something is written from the action, it will go to the reducer or store or views.
Reducer.
Reducer. So it will go to this reducer. And reducer has the case of browse. And in the browse, we will have the previous state and the new state, that is the data with the action.payload. And once this state is written, it will go to which place? Views or store?
Store.
Store. It will go to store and save this state. And once this store state is saved in the store, all the views will get updated with the new value. That means this part will get the new value of the food reducer. That means this part will have the new data which is coming from the server, that is which is coming from the Firebase. Now what I will do, now before I go ahead, have you tested everything? Is it coming correctly? All the data is coming on page load. You tested it or just you put the code? Your voice is not clear. Okay, so whenever you put the code, just at least run it. Maybe you get error or something so that you can check it. So don't just only put the code, always test it whether anything error you're getting or no. Okay, now what I will do, I will delete all the records and we will put some records so that we can show that record. So let's delete all the records now. Okay, so now I will add two records. So first record. Okay, we will put the first record as a, let's say, Indian food donation. And I will put the location of, let's say, San Francisco. And I will put description, Indian food for donation. And I will put tags, Indian food. And here I will put the image. Let's take some image in the Google Images. So here I will say Indian food. Okay, let's take this one. Okay, and I will put this image here and I'll create a new post. So a new post is created, and if I go to the Firebase, I can see the post is coming here. Okay, now let's display this one result into the page. So right now we have only one result and I want to display that result here. Now this is clear, right? We on page load we call the function one will call Firebase will display and get all the records, and all records will go to the action, and action will return type and payload, which will go to the reducer. Reducer will update the data with the new value of the data. So we have everything in this data. Once the state is updated with the data, the food reducer will get updated value of the data. So all the data which comes from the Firebase will be saved where? In the food reducer variable. So if I want to use the data, I can use this props.food reducer and I can get all the data.
I have an error. Do you want to fix that before you move on, or do you want to do it later?
Okay, let's fix it because we want to move without any error. Okay, go to your home.js.
Slide 98 or 7.
Yeah, go top, exactly top. So in the Firebase, you have line number 10. You don't have the constant. So should also put the constant. So the line number 10 should be like I am putting in the chat. So change the line number 10 to what I put in the chat. We don't need Firebase app, but we need other two.
Now it's a different error.
Okay, now it's saying module not found on the my firebase.js. So open my firebase.js. Yeah, this one. Open it. Okay, so here what is saying? What is the error it's saying? Go there. Does not match the corresponding path in the Firebase. So go there. Go to home.js. Okay, so you have my firebase.js with the B capital, but you are calling here only with B small letter.
Probably because I copy and paste from what you.
Yeah, because my maybe small b, your is capital B. Okay, now it's working at least.
All right, I'll fix those others later. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
So now what we'll do, let me mute it. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to show the results. So what I got, if I see in the next state, I have the food donation reducer. In the food donation reducer, I have a data. So this data, I have to show it here. Okay, so we have to show this data here. So now we will concentrate on this of showing the data here. Instead of results, we want to show the data. Now, before explaining how we will show, let's understand how it will work. So whenever we have a data with multiple rows, first thing what we have to do, we have to convert the data into arrays from objects. Generally, we get arrays if we use API, database API. But here, if you see in the Firebase, I'm getting the object. This is data. Data does not start with 0 and value. It starts with some key and value. That means this data is object, not an array. So the first step what we will do, we will convert this object into array, because if we don't have array, we won't be able to use many features of the React. Always we should have the array, and inside array each row should be object like this. So we have the object. This is the object. We want object. Each row should be object, but this data should be array. So data should have 0 value, 0 as a key, and value should be this one. Then 1 will be the key, and value should be the similar to this one. So it should be the array of objects, not the object of object. Right now what is happening? Data is also object and this value is also object. Value is object is fine, but data should be in array. Right now data is coming in object. So we have to convert this data into array from the object. This is the first step. Second step, what we have to do? If you see these results, there are multiple rows, 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row, and maybe many. So we have to create one result container. This result container will hold all these rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. This whole rows will be inside the result container. And inside result container, we should have result list. Each will be called as a list that will go into the result list. But this whole set of values will go into the result container. What is the next step? I am writing the step and then we will work on each step. Next step is we are getting some data and that data is in the food reducer. That data is in the food reducer. So we have to pass this food reducer in result container so that we can loop through the results and we can show individual results to the user. So these are the steps which we have to do. There is one more step which comes here in the 1A that we will see later when we will do search part. Here we have to add the distance for each post, that is how many miles each post is away from you. This part we will do once we do the search part. Otherwise, we will fix all these three parts. So let's start one by one. Let's start with the converting the object into the array. Maybe this conversion I will write down in the container. So let's do first this thing. Let's build this result container and result as a first step. And then we will do the second step this and third step is this one. So let's change the rows. Let's create the result container. So I will create one component called as result container. And we have already results. And I want to create a result list. Result list is nothing but results. So this results is fine. Only thing is I want to create the container which will wrap around the result. So here in the result container, I will create a component. So this is my component and I will rename it to result container. Result container will have the results. So this results will go into the result container. So let's change this one in the home.js. We will take this results and we will put it in the results container. And since we put the results in container, we will copy this results in the results container so that this results will be displayed here. Now, since we are calling here and here we have to call not result, we have to call the result container. I will delete all others. And so since we are calling result container, we have to rename it to result container. Now let's see how it's coming. So we are getting only one. The reason is home page is calling result container and in the result container we have only one results. Let's put this multiple times. Okay, so we put 3 times, so I'm getting 3 times. So now you also do this one, create a result container.js and put this line, this code inside result container.js. Now go to the home.js. Instead of calling results, we will call the result container. And instead of importing result, we will import a result container. Now I will not do more now, but I will ask you the questions how we will approach this thing. Now we want to display the results which we get in the, let me open this one. So right now I will not do another code. I will just only ask. So we are getting the data. This is the data. We have to pass here so that we can show here. But right now data is present in the form of food reducer. If I want to access the data, how will I access it here in the component? I want to access this food reducer data. So the data will be in the format of food reducer dot data. But how will I access this food reducer here? Okay, tell me now. How will I use this food reducer here? Because data is inside food reducer.
Is it this dot props?
Yeah, right. This dot props dot food reducer dot
Data.
data. So this, all the data which I am getting from the Firebase will be stored in this variable. Now I want to pass this variable. Inside the result container so that I can use that data here. How will I pass it here in the result container? I want to pass this variable, that is the one which you said, inside the result container so that I can use that data and loop through the results with that data. So how will I pass this one inside the result container? Maybe I might have not told you, or I might have told before you came for the class for the Tony, but I expect Kate to answer this one.
uh, they can say add property data equal
Data
to
equals.
curly bracket list props for the reducer dot data.
Okay, right, correct. So if we want to pass this data, which is the value coming from the Firebase to result container, we create any key. This is something you have to define. This is not defined anywhere. You have to think what value you want to pass. So let's say you think of data, or you can say records, or you can say list. Whatever you comes to your mind, just use that word. For me, it's, let's say, data. I will create a key and I will pass the value. This is the value, and this value is nothing but which we are getting from the Firebase. So when I go to result container and I am passing the key data, if I want to access this data in the result container, I can access it like this. In the render function, I will use console.log previous page data is this data. So whatever data I am passing here in the result container, I am passing this data, and this data is nothing but the value which comes from the Firebase. Now it goes to the data, and that data will go to the result container. So in the result container, I can access this data as not this data. I can access the data like this dot props dot data. So whatever data we are passing will go here in the format of like this dot props dot data. So let's see now how it's going into this page. So I will refresh the page. So now when I refresh the page, data will come from the Firebase, and in the Firebase we are going to the this page. This is called the result container. I am getting the data. So this data is coming from the Firebase. So Firebase is sending this data which we have already in the form of this one. We are passing this to this parameter, and this parameter will go in the result container. And if we want to access this data, I will access in the format of this dot props dot data. Now question to you, Tony. If I change this to record, how will I access this record here in the result container?
By changing data to record.
Yeah, so if I change that to record, I can change the data to record, whatever we have passed. So instead of record, I will use data, so I can access it with the data. Now this data will be having, first problem with this data is it is an object, because Firebase result return it in the object. And we want array. So to solve this problem, we will convert this object to array. Second problem with this data is it is a list of all data. So we have to loop through all data, and we have to show the results for each data. So the result is nothing but each individual row. Since this data will be having the multiple rows, so we have to loop through all the data, and for each loop we have to call the result with that data. So for the first case, let's say first record, I will call the result and I will change the title to mango. For example, first one is mango. Second one is banana, for example. So first one will get the mango, second one will get the banana. So for the second record, I will change the title to banana. Similarly, we will show all the records based on the list we get. So we will do this tomorrow. So here I will write something. Here I will write some code to convert object to array, and then I will get a list of array, and array will be having each item will be object, that is different thing, but it is a list of items. So I will loop through this list of items. So here what I will do, if I want to comment in React, I can start with the curly bracket and then I use this method to put the comment. So I will loop through the list, and for each list I will call results component with that row. So let's say first row is having the title of mango. So I will pass this mango to the result and I will show mango. Second row will be having banana. So I will pass the banana to the result and then I will show the banana. So these are the steps which we will do tomorrow. You can comment if you want in the result container, if you want to know what we are going to do, or tomorrow we will do and I will give you the whole file again. Only thing you right now put here like this one, so that you know we are passing the data with the data which is coming from the Firebase. So that's it for today. We will finish this result and result container tomorrow, and then we will start with the search part.